So for today's video, I want to review how to do formatting, and specifically I want to show you another type of formatting that we haven't seen before that has to do with how do you do hours and minutes and things like that. So let's write a little program. We'll do define main, and let's just review formatting in general. So let's say first, let's ask a person for their first name, and I might need a little bit more room here. Now, since your first name is just going to be a word, what's your first name? I like a space after this colon. Please, you do that too. It really makes it much nicer when we're running the program to see things. I'd also like to point something out. These are double quotes. See how the print is in double quotes? This is a single quote or a dash. It's okay as long as they're both in the double quotes. You can't use a double quote within a double quote because it'll get confused. It'll close the first one. There's a way around that, but we're not worried about that for right now. Last equals input. What's your last name? Now, if we want to print this nicely, we can do print, and let's review the formatting. Formatting uses curly braces. That's what they're called, or curly brackets. Python starts counting from 0. And let's figure, a first name at most will make it 10 characters long. I know it could be longer. It's certainly possible, but let's just go with 10 for right now. Again, Python starts counting from 0, so the last name will make that 10 also. Period or dot format first, comma, last. And REPL.it is really nice in that it closes parentheses for us. And we need main here in order to run it. So let's see, and if I made any mistakes, we'll fix that along the way. Okay, so first name, Billy Bobinski. All right. Well, there's some things we could also play around with our formatting. We could say, I want this to be left justified, and that also. So you see the arrow, think about the little greater than or less than sign. It points in the direction you want the test to move. So Susie Smith. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, it did move them all over, but we have some spacing issues because this is a name. We're just reviewing the naming right now. That's not really what we're totally after at this point. Let's try something else. Let's try hours, and let's make that an integer input. We're not going to put a fraction of an hours right now, and you'll see it once an ending quote there. So let's say enter hours. We'll make it nice and easy. I could use H. You know, I'm an old school programmer where we tended to use single or double letter variables. But new school programming tries to stress that you are better off to use words that make sense, that you'll remember, like hours and minutes. Could have used H and M, but this is going to be easier for us to understand. So enter minutes. Now we're going to print, and we're going to use the formatting issue, or formatting style. Remember, 0 is the first one. The next one, now remember, that'll be 1. We're going to use a different setup. We're going to use 0, 2. What that means is we're always going to have 2 places, and the 0 will tell it, if it's an hour and 5 minutes, to put the 0 in. Format hours, comma, minutes, we called it. Now let's run it and see what it does, and then we'll play around with it. So maybe a particular movie, it'd be a really long movie, it's 3 hours and 21 minutes. Okay, now, I don't know if we really like that. Let's see what happens if we put a colon in there. Let's try it again. Hey, that's nicer, right? Because it knew to put the colon in there. And I'm not sure if that's in the worksheet packet, but it'll look better. Now let's try it again, but let's say that the particular movie was 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's really good because that's what we would want to see. 2:05 we understand as 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's because we put the O2. Let's go on over here and take the O2 out. And it'll still run. 2 hours and 5 minutes. Well, see, that's different. If we see that, we don't know what's going on, because is that 2 hours and 5 minutes? Is that 2 hours and 50 minutes? By putting in the O2 there, it looks much nicer and it handles smaller numbers. Now, it'll take 2:15 just fine. It'll take an hour and 7 minutes. Oops, 1 hour, 7 minutes. So this is a really nice way to print out times. And you need that for one of the programs at the end of the chapter. Now, another thing we might like to do is go over, or I'd like to do, I want to go over that quarters and pennies problem. So let's print a little greeting. This program counts your change. Just because that's not a bad idea. Let's call it money. And I think we can use the integer. That's fine. Enter your money in cents, because that's what the program asked. And let's see. I think I have enough. I think it's just giving me the underlining because it wants me to type some more. Well, now we'd like quarters. And I think in this case, I am just going to use Q. Q would have to be money / 25. Because remember, this / is what's called floor division. It goes in and it divides by 25 and says, how much is this? And it cuts off the pennies. Cuts off anything past the quarters. Now what we're going to do here is, rather than subtract, we're going to rename money. We're going to say money equals money percent division 25, or remainder division. It's not actually a percentage, it's the remainder. Because what that'll do is that'll subtract. Now, I've seen students, sometimes they'll say money equals money minus, and they multiply something by 25 or quarters times 25, and that's fine, but this is easier. See, what I'm doing is I'm whittling it down. Now I probably want to get my dimes, so let's call that D. That'll be the new value for money / 10. Then we'll get whatever's left over. Money equals money percent division 10. So that's our dimes. Nickels will be whatever's left, that money that whatever's left, / 5. Now the nice thing about pennies is they're just whatever's leftovers. Pennies would just be, let's see, we do money percent division 5 to get the remainder. We don't have to necessarily redefine money again at this point. Now we just got to print all this. quarters, and I like a space there, comma Q. And let me see if I can just use some copying and pasting to make my life a little quicker. Nope, won't do that. Dimes, comma D. Nickels, comma N. Print pennies, comma P. Let me look at my code, see if it's okay. So I'm hoping what you can see here is that this is very sleek. That's the word you hear me use a lot of times with Python. It's very clean code. So I think the example I used was 212. So think about that's 212. So if we divide that by 25, that should be 8 quarters, 1 dime, no nickels, and 2 pennies. Hey, it works. Now let's try 217 because that should give me 1 nickel. And it works. Now, there's some things you can do also to make things even sleeker here. Like if you're just going to do something to money, you can actually put that in there. See, I did percent equals, but you can only do that if you're working with one variable. I couldn't do it up above where I'm going to deal with that. So let's just quick double check that that works. 212. Yep, and everything works there. Same thing here where I'm redefining money. You can actually do, that's a little shortcut, like the percent equals, and you could do anything. You could do plus equals, minus equals, slash equals, but you can only do it when you're redefining a single variable. You don't want to do it if you're doing multiple variables. There may be a way to do that, but I think that would be too confusing. So here is the change formula, and like I said, I hope you can see that we're able to write it really, really compact. That's one of the main strengths of Python.